Hey guys, how you doing? I've received a lot of requests to do a quick video on how I do core shots. Some people have seen some of the frog and stick baits that I posted and have wondered how I put the core color in my baits. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick video on how I do that. Technically, it really isn't a core shot since the core color isn't injected. I don't inject it the way I do it. You can inject it using other methods. The methods that I've tried, this is the easiest way to do it that I've found, so I'm going to show you how I do it. So here my molds all lined up, ready to pour. The first step that I do when I do a core shot bait is I will go ahead and I'll pour the belly molds first. So the belly half of the bait will get poured first. I don't like to fill them up all the way. Leave a little bit of extra room in there. It doesn't need to be completely full. So I'm going to go ahead and cook up the plastic. It isn't cooked yet. There's the plastic I'm using. This is Bait Junkies plastic. I've had it for about 1.5 years sitting underneath the workbench here. Shook it up yesterday a little bit. It had settled quite a bit, so I shook it up really gently this time. Hopefully there's no air bubbles. I've actually never let plastic go this long without using it. So I'm going to go ahead and cook up a batch. Hopefully it'll turn out okay. We'll see how it looks. Alright, so my plastic is all cooked and ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and get these bellies poured. Don't mind my bare hands. For all the safety Nazis out there, I'm wearing gloves. They're just invisible. So I don't like to pour down into the feet of this mold. Other molds you could maybe fill up a little bit more. I find that if I put too much plastic in with the belly and down, if it gets down into the feet, I get incomplete pours. And so if I do this way, the end result looks a little bit better. You don't want to get too much plastic in there because you got to have room for that core shot. If you get too much core plastic in there, it'll block the rest of the plastic that you inject for the rest of the body when you finish the body off. If you get too much in there now, you got to make sure you have room for the core plastic to get in there too and all close up and not block the path of the last shot of the top part of the body. Well, that went a little bit too fast. Hopefully that's not too full. See how it does. Okay, so there are the bodies. And I'm not seeing any air bubbles in that plastic, which is, I'm really happy to see that because they've been sitting for a long time. At least 1.5 years, maybe even 2 years. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get the core plastic melted down, and I'll show you that in a minute. Right now for these frogs, I'm going to go ahead and do a blue and chartreuse core. And like I said, we call them core shots, but technically it's not a shot because I'm not injecting the core color. What I'm doing is I'm going to let it run off my screwdriver and just lay down a path plastic. So it looks like the consistency of the plastic's pretty good. We'll see how these turn out. And that's all I do. Get a little bit of plastic on your screwdriver, run it over top of the bait. Oh, it's a little hot. You see it's dripping. It's not running so much. It's actually dripping more than it's running. So that's what you're kind of watching out for. Irregularities in the baits are okay. You kind of want that. It looks better. But I like to get a consistent line more than... I really don't like the look of the drops. But it is what it is. Kind of hard to do it one-handed when I'm holding the camera. But you get the idea. You basically just let the plastic run off your screwdriver or whatever you're using to make a line. And sometimes I'll make the lines look a little bit irregular just so that it's not all exactly the same. Yeah, the plastic's cooling off a little bit, so it's running a little bit nicer now. I'm getting more lines instead of dripping. I really don't like the look when the plastic is dripping off the screwdriver. That's personal preference though. Okay, so there's the blue. We got that on there now. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll melt down the chartreuse and we'll get that laid down. My chartreuse plastic here is ready to go. I think the consistency is pretty good. We'll see how it lays down. Blue and chartreuse are one of my favorite color combinations for this. I think that turns out really nice, really good finished product. Alright, we'll see how it looks. Yeah, that seems like it's running off pretty well. Alright, so we've got both core colors laid down. Looks pretty decent, not too bad. Obviously there's a lot of overspill, and you want to make sure you clean all that off before you close the molds up and try to shoot it. Otherwise you'll probably not get the molds to close all the way. You'll have a lot of extra flashing. Just works a lot better if you go ahead and clean them up before you close them. So we'll go ahead and clean them up now, and I'll let you see what it looks like. Another note I want to mention real quick is you can see these thin lines of plastic. For as small amount of plastic as there is there's a lot of color. I mix a lot of extra color into my core colors. If you don't mix enough color into them, it'll be too light and you won't see them, or they won't be as defined a line. You get a lot nicer line if you add extra color to your core colors beforehand. Like I said, if it's too light, you won't get enough contrast. It won't look very good. And the whole point behind this is to make them look good. So I'm going to go ahead and get the mold cleaned up before I close it up, and I'll be right back. Alright, so the mold now they're all cleaned off. Shouldn't have any flashing with these. There might still be a little bit when it's all said and done, like that spot right there, but that's okay. You can always clean that little bit off when you demold the frogs. This molds now, they're ready to close up and ready to inject. Okay, we're ready to inject the rest of the mold. I like to hold pressure for a little while just to make sure everything feels nice. You don't need to push down real hard, but you do need to hold the pressure there just to make sure it's full. And then I do go back and I refill my sprues. And then when I'm done, I do go back again just to top them off, just to make sure everything's full. Nothing worse than spending time on a mold and a bait only to have it sucked back down and you wind up with air bubbles. Alright, so those will be ready in a couple minutes. Come back and show them to you. Alright, so we're ready to demold the frogs. They've been sitting now for a few minutes. They should be ready and good to go. I'll take off my clamps and see what they look like in there. That's a good complete pour. That one looks good. So there's the frog. Not sure if I can show it to you right or not, but there it is. I'll show the rest of them to you here in a second, but let's go ahead and get them out. There's one. That one looks good. I see a couple air bubbles in it, but not too bad. This one looks good also. That one's got a little bit of an air pocket in the foot, but the rest of it looks good. This one looks good. Good complete pour. And this one looks good too. So these ones all turned out pretty well. We had the one that had a little air pocket in the foot. I guess that just means it'll be one of mine that I use, so that's okay. These molds off to the side, out of the way a little bit. I'll go ahead and show these to you here. Alright, so there they are. See, you've got the core color showing through there. Good clear plastic. Pretty neat effect, I think. I like the look of these a lot. They're not done yet. We're still going to add the eyes to them. And so I've got some 3D eyes that I stick on there, and then I dip the whole head of the frog, the body and the head in a clear coat plastic. And that's what we got so far. These ones turned out really good. I'm pretty happy with them. Right there, you see there's an incomplete foot. Well, maybe you can see it, I don't know. Yeah, there. So that one had an incomplete foot. The rest of them look pretty good. Alright, so let's do the eyes. Alright, so it was a little bit too difficult to dip these while holding the camera, so I went ahead and did them like this. So here they are. There's the finished product. They've got dipped in a clear coat. You can turn the bait. See, it's got core shot running all the way through it. Looks pretty good. Pretty good looking finished product. So that's the end result. And these baits did get a little bit of air bubbles in them, but for the most part they look pretty good. Turned out pretty well. There's one that was laying on the table. I went ahead and dipped it too while I had it ready to go. That one's got a floating belly on it. Good to go.